1 Corinthians 12, Paul wrote these words to a church very long ago. He said this, "Just as a body, though one, has many parts, but with all of its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit, so as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slave or free, and we were all given the one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but of many. Now, if the foot should say, 'Because I'm not a hand, I don't belong to the body,' it would not for that reason stop being a part of the body. And if the ear should say, 'Because I'm not an eye, I don't belong to the body,' it would not for that reason stop being a part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them just as He wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts but one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, 'I don't need you.' The head cannot say to the feet, 'I don't need you.' On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. But God has put the body together, giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other." Next week, we're beginning a brand new teaching series. Just want to give you a heads up. Coming out of the book of Proverbs. So we're going to be doing a survey of the book of Proverbs for about a month and a half. We're talking about what does it look like to live as a wise person. Every one of us wants to be wise. We want to make good decisions. And yet a lot of us go through life making very poor decisions or wondering why our decisions don't turn out the way we want. So it's going to be a great series. You're going to hear from a few different people, from myself, from Mike, from one of our elders. It's going to be a great time. And I think we're going to look specifically at our money, at our relationships, at what we say, at work, things like that. So we're going to see how that looks. But this week, we're concluding our whole September series about finding your place in God's family. And the focus of the entire series has simply been this, that you are a part of ARAC for a purpose, right? You are here because God wants you here. He's uniquely placed you, not just to receive, but to give. And so just a quick synopsis, because we're only going to take about 6 minutes for this. We looked at spiritual gifts, which is what we're gifted to do. We're all made that way. God gave us these unique gifts. We looked at personal style, which is, well, what does that look like? How do I go about doing that? And then we looked at our motivation. Like, what do I want to do? What am I passionate about? Why do I do what I do? And then after those 3 weeks, we had a life group study. That's where we looked at relationships, the need for intentional relationships, and why that's important. And today, we're going to look at this idea of engaging in the life of the church. And we're going to do something that we haven't done since I've been here, so you'll find out about that in a second. All right. Let me emphasize this today. I am not up here recruiting volunteers. In fact, the way that we define volunteer, I don't think has any place in the church. Volunteerism is a great thing, and we see it all over the place because there's lots of organizations that need volunteers. But volunteering is this call to do something, and volunteering puts the focus on me. I'm going to do something, I'm going to help when it works for me, when it fits in my schedule, when it stops fitting in my schedule, when my life changes, I'm going to stop being a volunteer. That is not how God designed the church. He did not design the church to be an organization that depends on volunteers to do stuff. It's not the way it's supposed to be. In fact, the idea of following Jesus is to serve other people. That's just what it is. John said this. You guys remember the story when he washed the disciples' feet, right? Right before he died, and he takes up the basin, he wipes all their dirty feet and smelly feet, and he washes them. And when he's all done, he famously says this. He says, "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so. That's what I am. I'm the creator of the entire world, for goodness sake. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I've set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him." Which basically means, if you don't think you have to serve, you're saying you're better than God. Harsh words. But then he goes on and says, "But now that you know this, I'm telling you this, you will be blessed if you do this." And so when we talk about being the church, we're not ever looking for volunteers. So here's what we're looking for. People who are servants and ministers. In other words, we don't volunteer. This is who we are. When we follow Jesus, he says, "Look, you are my servants. This is what you do. It's who you are. You are people that will reorient your entire life around other people, not yourself." your schedule, your time, your money, your resources. All of that stuff doesn't begin with you and then whatever you get left over goes to other people. No. I'm going to show you what you should do. And that's what you do. To follow Jesus is to serve others. Indira Gandhi said this, "My grandfather told me that there are two kinds of people, those who do the work and those who take the credit. He told me to try to be in the first group because there was less competition there." I thought that was pretty good, right? Because that's exactly right. In fact, I heard someone else, because if we devote ourselves to us, it's just something small. Andy Stanley said it this way, "Those who devote themselves to themselves will ultimately have nothing but themselves to show for themselves." That's why we serve. Because here's the thing. Our service to Jesus actually makes us part of this bigger mission. That's the whole passage I read at the beginning. We get to be part of something that is so much bigger than us. And we read that at the beginning, right? You can't have hands and no feet, and the head can't say to the feet. Every single one of you is here this morning because all the parts of your body, some better than others, work together to get you here. And if one of them didn't work, all of a sudden you can't move. That's the whole point of the kingdom. Jesus says, look, the kingdom's going to go forward when you all act in concert by serving and ministering together. And this is why we don't guilt people into volunteering, because we volunteer, we serve, we minister because Jesus loved us and we're supposed to love others. That's it. And the cool part is when we do this, we actually get to be part of something so much bigger. That's what he said. God placed them. Every one of them. Remember? You're in Iraq for a purpose. God has you here for a reason. God designed his church to be a group of people who serve others in the way they were created. When they do that, it moves the kingdom. Now, the question, of course, is what are you thinking? When you're out here and you're cleaning up your classroom after another Wednesday night of Youth for Truth and the kids were crazy and all you want to go is go home and go to bed, and you're thinking, oh, why am I doing this again? Let me tell you. There was a great story. English architect Sir Christopher Wren. He was supervising this construction of this magnificent cathedral in London. And a journalist thought, I want to find out what the people who are working on this think of it. So he went to 3 different workers. He said to the first, what are you doing? The first guy says, well, I'm cutting stone for 10 shillings a day. The next said, well, I'm putting in 10 hours a day on this job. And the third one says, I'm helping Sir Christopher Wren construct one of the London's greatest cathedrals. And it's all a matter of perspective. So, what does it look like to be a servant and minister at ARAC? What does it look like here? Well, we are encouraging everybody, and we always do, to get engaged in a ministry. We want you to actually be involved in doing something. Now, we, as a general rule of thumb, for those of you that don't know, we look at ministry as serving anywhere from 3 to 5 hours a week. Right? It's like 2% of your week. But people who are saying, I'm going to invest in other people for 3 to 5 hours a week. And just so you understand how the pastoral staff looks at this, like Mike and I talked about this, we do this too. We say, this is our job. We work 40 to 50 hours a week, and then we serve over and above that. It's not just part of what we do. We feel that we don't ask anybody to do what we won't already do. We want everybody to serve in some way, in some shape, in some capacity, in some form, differently. Now, that means you might have to follow God into new things. You're never in something forever if you volunteer. See, I'm even using the word. If you serve someone and you're ministering, just because you said you do it doesn't mean you're going to do it until you're dead. Okay? You get to change here. We have no problems with that. We want you to try new stuff. Do new things. Where is God inviting you in? Try new ministry. Some of you want to try something brand new. Do you know Youth for Truth started because there was a life group that says we need to do something for kids? And they started, and now it's amazing. And it also means that if you are a leader, or you're already involved, invite other people in. There are a lot of people, and there are some probably sitting here this morning that think, I don't know what to do, I don't know if I want to do it, I don't think I'm qualified to do it, and do you know how they're going to get engaged? Because you are going to ask them. Because I can only ask so many people. And after a while, people see me coming, and then they just run. And so here's what we're going to do. You're part of our church for a purpose. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do something this morning called a ministry fair. You are gifted, every one of you, by the Holy Spirit. You have a natural way of doing things. You have a personal style. You have a passion that reflects God's heart.